Before we begin, take one slow breath. Not to calm yourself, not to fix anything, just to notice that you are here. Because if you're watching this, you're probably carrying something difficult to explain. A quiet ache. A sense of being unrooted. Not angry. Not lost. Just in between. Not religious anymore. Not fully at home in what people call spirituality. Still caring deeply. Still longing for meaning. Today, I want to give that experience a name. It's called spiritual homelessness. And the most important thing I want you to hear right now is this. Nothing is wrong with you. Spiritual homelessness is not a failure of faith. It's what happens when the story that once held you no longer fits. But nothing new has fully formed yet. It's the space after certainty dissolves and before wisdom settles. You didn't lose meaning. You didn't become shallow. You didn't give up. You simply outgrew a container. And growth almost always feels like loss before it feels like freedom. For generations, religion offered structure, belonging, and answers. It gave rituals, moral language, community, and order. But for many, it also came with fear-based control. Rigid hierarchies, silence around trauma, and exclusion of honest questions. When those contradictions became impossible to ignore, people didn't lose faith. They chose integrity. Leaving religion was often not rebellion. It was grief. Grief for something that once nourished the soul, but could no longer tell the truth. So many people turned towards spirituality, meditation, mindfulness, manifestation, inner work. Some of it helped, but over time, emptiness appeared. Because spirituality without structure can become isolating. Spirituality without lineage can feel thin. Spirituality without community quietly turns into self-optimization. It centers the individual. When the soul is relational, it soothes, but it doesn't always root. And so the ache returns. You don't believe what you used to. You don't want to pretend. But you still feel reverence, awe, compassion, and depth. So the questions begin. Where do I belong now? Did I lose God? Did I lose myself? Let me say this clearly. The in-between space is sacred. It's where borrowed belief falls away and lived truth begins. Every major spiritual teacher, emerged from spiritual homelessness. They didn't inherit certainty. They stood at the edge of it. Jesus called rigid religion without abandoning devotion. The Buddha walked away from inherited belief without rejecting meaning. The Tao refused naming altogether. Sufi mystics loved God beyond doctrine. They weren't building replacements. They were pointing beneath. Not to new beliefs, but to direct experience. Omnism does not ask you to convert. It asks you to remember. You don't have to choose one tradition to honor truth. You don't have to erase your past faith to move forward. You don't have to pretend certainty to belong. Omnism exists for people who took spirituality serious enough to let it break open. It's not a new dogma. It's an integrative orientation. Holding many wisdom streams without collapsing into relativism and without hardening into control. Place your hand on your chest. Ask yourself silently, what do I still care about deeply? Not what you believe, not what you reject. What still moves you? That is your root. Belonging doesn't begin with answers. It begins with honesty. Spiritual homelessness is not the end of faith. It is faith shedding a skin that no longer fits. You don't need to rush into a new identity. You don't need to force belief. You need a place where your whole story is allowed. If this resonates, you are not alone. And you are not late. You are welcome here.